we are here today to pay our respects to the only franchise to cash its billions at the blood bank. We have the cast of Friday the 13th 5. Make some noise for the amazing Melanie Kinnaman and Bob DeSimone.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, kids.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time and talking with everyone here. I'm going to warm things up with a couple questions, but feel free to raise hands whenever you want. As soon as I see hands go up, I'm happy to call them out there. I've been a Friday the 13th fanatic my entire life. I've always wondered, when people get cast in one of the sequels, were you fans, Friday the 13th fans, prior to being cast?
I had never seen one.
Never?
Never. And when I went in for the movie, the audition, I didn't know what it was. No, as a matter of fact, A New Beginning I thought was romantic comedy. So when I got in there and read, I got the part pretty quickly. I only had 1 or 2 auditions. And then they told me it was a Friday the 13th, and it meant nothing to me because I hadn't seen any. So I went, when I was cast as Pam, I went to see part 4, so I would know what's going on. What is this stuff? And part 4 was really good. It was scary, and I said, okay, now I know what I have to do for part 5, you know, to keep the franchise, the continuation of the franchise. So, yeah, but I had never seen any Halloween. No, I did see the original Halloween, but I'd never seen Friday the 13th.
Oh, wow.
I'm afraid of horror movies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you know, you didn't look afraid in that movie, I'll tell you that.
After I saw The Exorcist, I'm afraid of horror movies. And it's my favorite movie.
My mom is terrified. Even if the music ever plays in the house, she screams at the top of her lungs.
I love The Exorcist, but it scared me. It's my favorite. It's not considered a horror movie, but it's my favorite scary movie.
It is a very great film. Bob, were you a Friday the 13th fan prior to being cast?
No, I had seen a couple, but it's not that I wasn't a fan, I just hadn't seen more than a couple. But I had done a film, Savage Streets, and Danny Steinman directed, and he said to me, I'd like to use you in other movies. I like to have certain actors I can depend on. I said, that's great. And after a while, I left the business. You know, I came to California as a kid, as a drummer, and I played for everybody. And I was on the road all the time, and then got involved in comedy, stand-up, did some TV, dabbled in acting, and that's how I met Danny. And then I left the business, and my brother, Tom DeSimone, if any of you are familiar with him, he's a director, he called me and said, Danny is casting Friday 5, give him a call. And so I gave him a call, and he started yelling at me that he called my agent, couldn't find me, and he said, I only have 2 parts left. The guy that drives Tommy up to the Institute, meets Pam, and a sleazy coke-blowing nut in a hot rod. He said...
I'll take it.
I said, am I supposed to pick? Which one? He said, you improvise, can you make that one character? I said, yeah, send me the pages and I'll do it. So I wrote that line when she said, who wants to know? And I said, the pride of the Younger Institute of Mental Health. And that made me who just emptied his last bedpan and would like very much to party. So that made us one guy. And then Danny said to me, improvise. My only line was, hey, Lana, and then, what the hell is she doing? And then I was to blow cocaine. And they took the door off the car, set the camera up, and he said, just do what you want. So I improvised the whole scene.
Oh, wow.
And that, for me, was a couple of days' work, and I had no idea what it would become. Yeah. Okay, so here we are.
But it kind of sets the tone, you know, kind of gets you in that mood for, you know, Friday the 13th shenanigans. So given that you guys weren't you know, big Friday fans going in, were you, what were your first impressions of the project? Were you blown away? Was it something you really wanted, or was it just another gig, or?
It was something I really wanted because, first of all, it was the lead character, and it was Paramount, so it was a big deal for my career. But that was prior to knowing that it was a Friday the 13th. When I got on the set, again, it really didn't mean a whole lot to me that it was a horror movie because I was just acting and doing each scene as it came. So it was a lot of fun, very intense. And then when we got into the horror part of it, it was very physically demanding. It's a lot of late night shoots, which means we start at like 5 at night and you go till 7 in the morning. All of it is shot in the middle of the night. And it was freezing and I was soaking wet through 50% of the movie. So it was grueling physically, but the entire experience was great. I had no bad experience with it.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And Bob, your first impressions, I guess, were the project. I guess it was sort of getting the call that Danny was casting it, right? And I guess the first thing you read was those pages.
Well, this was just my last hurrah. You know, I wasn't. Usually, actors sometimes will take these parts, knowing it's a B movie, but not knowing it's going to become a cult hit.
Right. No
like
idea.
It has. We had no idea
No.
at that time, none whatsoever. No. And so for me, it was like a couple of days shooting. I was in a play at the time, so I was driven in, driven out, driven in, driven out, back to the show I was doing at night. So for me, it was, if I were still in the business, it would have been something I would have added to my reel, you know, to try and get more work.
Absolutely.
But I wasn't around the set as much as the other actors. I did those 2 scenes and I was gone. So it wasn't until years later somebody called me for an interview. And I was trying to figure what do they want to interview me for? You know, was it the bands I played in? Was it the TV I did? I didn't. And then he said Friday the 13th, and I was like, are you serious? Really? And then I found this, I guess he had my email, then the email got out, and then I started getting autograph requests from all over the world, which surprised me. So as a result, this is my first convention. I had no idea how big this thing had gotten. So I finally said okay, and this is my first convention. I'm enjoying it. I'm really loving it.
That's so cool. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking about it now. I'm pretty sure that's the only cocaine scene in any of the Friday the 13th movies. Now that I think about it. You know, I mean, there's lots of sex scenes, there's lots of death scenes, there's lots of boob scenes, there's lots of joint beers, you know, but maybe Jason or Roy, in this case, just really wanted that last line, and you weren't sharing, and he's like, come on, man, you know.
That's it.
You're not going to share? You're going to cut me some, or I'm going to cut you some.
That's funny. You should be writing this stuff. You should write the next Friday, the 13th.
Yeah, well, you know, Jason's been in legal trouble for a while now. He can't really get out of court, and maybe it's, maybe he was carrying that blow. Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know as well. What I was snorting wasn't real blow, so... Yeah.
I always wonder, what did they have you snort?
Vitamin?
Huh?
Was it vitamins? No?
Powdered milk?
It was Manit, which is baby laxative.
Oh,
wow.
Why would you snort that?
Yeah, that doesn't...
No. And I had the tiniest poops for 2 weeks. I couldn't figure it out. Not to be gross, I'm sorry. But Manit is what I'm told, is what they use to cut cocaine.
Oh.
Dealers will throw Manit in with it because the powder of that is so much like cocaine that they can get away with it. So that's what they gave me.
You guys are learning a lot here today, so...
It doesn't affect you in the least, really.
Young entrepreneurs of America, just so you know.
Cut it with meat?
Manit.
Manit. Cut it with Manit.
Manit. All right. Well, I'm going to definitely pick up some Manit from the Manit store on the way home.
When you decide to have your first child and it has trouble, you can get some Manit.
Won't be happening.
Okay.
So I grew up obsessed with these movies, and I always think there's these huge budget Paramount studio affairs, must have been amazing, top shelf across the board. I've gotten to talk to actors from almost every Friday the 13th movie, and almost none of them have told me that that was the case for them, that they had to deal with some really difficult stuff, and you wouldn't have known it was a Paramount movie if you, you know, didn't know that.
If you didn't see the signs, Paramount, on everything. It was a very low budget. I think ours was about 1.5 million, and they grossed the first weekend 50 million. Friday the 13th, Part 5 was the biggest grossing opening weekend of all of them.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I did my research. People told me this, and then I looked it up. And Variety had printed it when we opened that weekend, 50 million. So that's what Paramount did with these. They paid very little for them, and then they tried to nitpick. I mean, they nickel and dimed everything. I wanted a hotel room because I was up all night and I had no place. I drive home. No, they didn't want to pay for the hotel. Stuff like that, yeah.
Where they expect you to stay?
Well, they drove me back home at 8 in the morning, or I had to drive myself, and then I had to be back on the set, which was far from my house, at 4 in the afternoon. So I said, since we're up here, can I just get me a cheap, I don't care, it could be Motel 6, someplace to stay right here. Yeah. So I don't have to drive an hour back and forth.
Yeah.
I can sleep here. No, we don't have it in the budget. That would have been like maybe $50 a day at the time, you know?
Yeah, even
and
less.
So, yeah, they made 50 million the first weekend, and of course we know all these years.
Yeah.
The
And we didn't
video
get any,
sales and all that.
we didn't get any back-end money either.
Well, I
Well, you
did.
never do on those.
I was lucky I
Just the
did.
blockbusters, yeah.
Oh, man. Well. So one thing I've always been curious about, at what point did you guys realize who the killer was going to be? Was that evident before you started shooting, that we're going to change things up, or?
Yeah,
you were
they told me. I don't know the rest of the cast, but they told me.
Okay.
So I knew when I did the scenes with Roy, when he was Roy, that he was going to end up being the killer when I was fighting him at the end, you know, before the reveal. Yeah.
I had no idea.
No idea.
None whatsoever.
So you just assumed, all right, I'm doing some coke, getting killed by Jason. This is, you know, this is what it's like. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But they kept it secret till the very, I'd say the last couple weeks of shooting. They didn't tell me right away, but then they told me this is how it's going to go, and this is who you're fighting with, and that last scene where he falls and they reveal.
Right.
Yeah.
I was rewatching recently the Crystal Lake Memories doc, which I'm a huge fan of, and just want to thank you both for participating in that. I love fan docs. That one's made with great passion. It's like the definitive, tell-all. So in that, I saw, and pardon me if I'm forgetting his name, who played Jason or Roy, but he said, I just played it as Jason. I'd let them figure it out, the story
That's
later,
it.
exactly what it was. Was there ever any pressure on Paramount to reshoot anything or change any of that, or?
No. The issue with Paramount, I was signed to do Part 5 and 6, so I was supposed to do both movies, and they paid me for both.
Oh, wow.
And so I was told my last day of shooting, we're going to start up in 2 months. So we'll be in touch with you in a month with the script and the dates. A month in, I'm getting all ready. And my agent called me and said, I just heard from Paramount, we got an issue. I said, what's going on? John Shepard, who played Tommy in the movie, decided he became a born-again Christian and he doesn't want to do these kind of movies anymore. They're very bad. So I said, what does that have to do with me? Well, the final scene of Part 5 is him behind me. That's exactly where Part 6 was going to start. They were going to start that scene, and we were going from there.
That would have been
and Tommy
awesome.
was going to become the new killer, and I was still the counselor. I don't know if I lived or died because we never got that far. So they said, we're scrapping the idea according to Paramount. I said, can't I just do it with a new Tommy? No, they're scrapping the whole idea for 2 reasons. John doesn't want to do it. They had a whole different story, and now they're thinking of bringing Jason back instead of going with a different 6, which I thought would have been really interesting to have a new killer. So they brought back Jason, did everything different for Part 6. They have a new, and I said, well, you have a new Tommy, just bring me, no, a whole new story.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's the real story about Part 6. I was supposed to do both. John and I were both signed to do both.
You know, I always say I want to go to the alternate dimension of the multiverse and see these different versions of sequels and franchises and things. Like, just, I want to see a movie that starts there now, you know? And I do love 6, I love all the movies, but man, I want to see that. Like 5.5, you know? That would be awesome.
And I got the first pages, and so I do know that John was going to be.
So there is a full script for that version?
No, not a full script. They stopped. I did get the first
like a story treatment.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was going to become the new killer.
Wow, that is.
I don't know where it was going from that or what was going to happen to me. The only consolation, because I was very upset about not doing both, the only consolation is I'm the only final girl that lived forever. I mean, because they didn't kill me.
That's true,
in 6.
right?
The other final girls have some kind of demise.
In the next film, usually. Yeah.
Yeah, in the next film.
Yeah.
And I forever live.
Wow, that is cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So, are there any deleted scenes, anything you guys remember shooting that didn't wind up in the final cut? Or is it just the typical MPAA shortening every kill?
I had a couple scenes, there was some character development, which also upset me when I went to the screening. Because Pam became just a running, screaming person, you know. Prior to that, she had, you know, who she was. So I only have a few scenes in the office and stuff like that, and then some scenes with Shavar and his brother, Reggie and his brother, DeSimone. But there's really no character development of Pam, so none of you really know who she was prior to all the screaming and yelling.
There's more scenes with DeSimone. I need this.
Yeah,
Is this
yeah.
on YouTube, please?
No, it's all gone. It's all gone. DeSimone, right? What's up, Pam?
Dude, Miguel Nunez.
He was great.
Incredible.
He was great to work with. He's a real cool guy, and we had a great time. Yeah.
Almost every day of my life, I hear the voice in my head going, ooh, baby,
Yeah.
ooh, baby.
And he wrote that. He ad-libbed that song.
Oh,
That's his.
Man.
He's sitting there, and they go, well, just come up with something. And he starts singing.
Oh, my God. That is just gold. That's just 80s
Yeah.
gold right there. That warms my heart. So do you guys have a favorite kill in the film?
Yeah, I don't like any of them.
You don't like any of them?
No, I don't like kills.
Yeah?
I don't.
I wasn't even there. My kill was a dummy.
Right.
It was a dummy head. A funny thing about that was I shaved my head now. Most people know me, you know. But at the time I had hair, but I had one of those monk bald spots in the back. And they made up the dummy with a full head of hair. And then I got there, and we were at a place called the Rock Store, it was not a set, it was an actual store where Billy pulls up and calls for Lana. And the special effects guys were looking at me, and they said, turn around. They had to pull all the hairs out, but you can't just rip them out. You got to make the dummy all over again. Oh, there'll be little holes. So that held up one whole day. They were not happy. And I said, no one asked me about my head, so don't blame me.
No, it was them. They should have known.
Right.
Yeah.
So we came back the next day and shot the scene. Okay. You know, and Melanie told me something that I didn't know. I think it was you that told me that the guy that swung the axe in my dummy head, it upset him.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Oh, somebody
I wasn't
told
there.
me.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that.
Yeah, that it was the most upsetting that he had ever done because
Wow.
I guess an axe to the head is worse than an axe to the stomach. I don't know. But it supposedly upset him.
Well, if I had to pick one, I'd probably try and take the axe to the stomach and survive it.
Yeah.
You know, I probably wouldn't sign up for the axe to the head. I guess.
The one grisly one for me was Eddie getting the belt on the tree. Yeah, that I still can't look at. Yeah, that's pretty awful. I still can't look at that.
Yeah.
The road flare, I have to say,
Road
in the
flare
kid's
was
mouth.
funny.
Yeah.
That one shook me up a little.
Really?
That's a good one. You know, that's part of what I love about this movie, though, is it's got some of the greatest kills in the, you know, it's just really solid, you know, great 80s movie, great 80s kills, great 80s characters. It's, you know, it's everything I love about Friday the 13th movies.
Well, you know, Danny had a very loose style of directing. Melanie and I had dinner last night, and we would just, in fact, this is the first time I
We've
met
seen each other since
Melanie
the movie.
in all these years.
First time I've seen him.
Yeah, and I mean, thank God Melanie and I were communicating
Facebook.
on private message and Facebook before the show, just talking about getting here and so on. And so I finally met her Friday for the first time in all this time, which was great. So we went out to dinner last night for a quick bite after the convention. And she was mentioning how Danny would go to him for, what do you want in this scene, or what's my motivation? And he would say, just do it.
Just do it.
And so with
Actor's
me,
director.
my part was small. But he said to me, "You're a comedian. Just do what you want." And I loved him for it because I was able to have a good time and I was relaxed.
It's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes.
Oh, it is a good thing and a bad, but when you have a talent like Melanie, she can just go in and wing it. I've had a lot of experience doing improv and stand-up, so that was not new to me. So his way of directing, I think, on that film, made it what it was. It was a loosey-goosey, but the characters were having a good time, and the kills were coming one after the other. And I think all of that combined made it more campy than more of the other films. I may be wrong, but that's just my opinion.
It's Quentin Tarantino's favorite Friday the 13th. It's his favorite horror movie.
Wow.
Yeah. And every year, he has a movie theater in L.A. called the New Beverly Theater. And twice a year, he shows part 5. And it's packed. You can't get in.
Oh, sure.
So he said the next time... he said, the next time, would you do a Q&A? I said, absolutely.
Oh, man.
So if you're in LA,
I hope you post about that on social media, because that's like, I'll hitchhike to the West Coast for that. That is one not to be missed.
Fun. It's a great theater. And he shows the 35 millimeter. Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm so there. Just take my money now, please. So I do want to give the audience a chance to jump in, guys. Okay, here we go, Baron, up front.
Right. I thought it would be positive because I was a lead character in what I thought was a Paramount film. It was negative. I had to take it off my resume.
Really?
Yeah. I had to use only my other credits because at that time, which is why this is still shocking to me that people care, because back when I should have been enjoying it, I was told to hide it. So we never talked about it. Casting people didn't know. It was not on my resume, and it was taken off my reel.
Wow.
So I never got to use all that work. Yeah, that's the way Hollywood was at the time.
It's a shame.
And now it's different. Isn't that funny? All these years later, it's different.
Yeah.
And people are putting it all over the resumes, and casting people are going, fabulous! Yeah.
Bob, was it, I guess it was sort of your, like you said, your last hurrah for acting?
Yeah, it was my last hurrah.
So it would have been on your reel, I guess, like you said. But
in fact, I was out of the business. I started my own regular business, and I was quite happy. And like I said, I've been in so many facets of show business. Drumming really is my thing.
Right on.
And comedy was second. And the acting, I just kind of, because my brother's a director, I would get these little parts because there's always that sibling rivalry with him. I don't know why. We're all grown up now, but I would always get these little parts. And then we would watch the entire film, and he would say, pointing to someone who had a very big part, "You could have done that." I wanted to kill him. You could have done that part. So acting was something that was not what I came to California for. But, you fall into so many different things. Who knows,
Right.
James Cagney was a song and dance man, and that was his thing, singing and dancing. And he wound up king of the B bad guys. But when he did Yankee Doodle Dandy, where he sang and danced, he won an Academy Award. Now, that's a dream story.
Wow.
So I always throw that in because I never came out here to be an actor. I was a musician. I still am, but, that was my thing. But, that was my swan song. Oh. But it's a blast. Talking to these fans and how much they enjoy the movies it's a kick.
Did you guys follow the franchise much after 5? Did you see 6 and 7 and 8?
No,
and 9?
I was so pissed about 6. I stopped.
No.
I really was.
No.
I didn't see any of them.
I was done. Done.
I'm over it now, really. But no, I didn't see them.
Okay. Well, I could certainly understand. I do want to give the audience another chance. We got Brandon up here.
Hey, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
Filmmaker, so Melanie, did you do your stunts and did you have a stunt person and physical scenes?
I did, yeah. I did all of them except one, and I insisted on doing them. They weren't that hard,
Yeah, but
I did it all. Ironically, the only one they wouldn't let me do is I climb up the ladder in the barn. I said, I can do that. No, if you break the... So I said, please, this is terrible, but I said, please get someone with a nice butt. Because it's a butt shot. And they get this stunt woman. Never mind. You got to see it. And the
Mom jeans.
the makeup artist became one of my best friends, and he was snickering when she went up the ladder. He went, well, there you go. Big butt. Anyway. But
Roy likes big butts, and he cannot lie.
My other question was, I've worked over the years with child actors. Shamar was already in season 9.
yes.
But was there any issues because he was younger than everyone?
He was amazing. Like you said, he was seasoned, and he'd been doing it for so long. He was so easy to work with. We clicked because we had the same acting thing, and he only told me recently, because we're friends, told me a few years ago, he said, boy, I was so nervous working with you because I had such a crush on you. I said, what? And he went, oh, I had such a crush on you. I think he was 13 or something. He was really young. And he said, that scene where I'm laying in your lap looking up, I could barely act. He was so professional because you would never have known.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when he did that scream, did he do that multiple times?
Yes. Yes. And he never lost it. He outscreamed me. They should have actually dubbed his scream for mine, right?
Yeah.
He screamed like a little girl.
Yeah. That is easily the highest pitch.
He makes fun of that.
Yeah.
He makes fun of that all the time. He said, yeah, I scream like a girl. And he said the other thing, his other favorite part of the movie was when he runs away from me, just leaves me. Here I am protecting him. He's gone. He said, it's every man for himself. I'm out of here. He left me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. You're gone.
Sorry.
Yeah. And they left that in. That was not written. And he took off. I said, I've spent 2 hours trying to save your ass. Yeah.
That moment and Joe at the chocolate bar.
Oh. Right?
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I was glad to see him die. He was annoying.
Shots fired.
I actually went to the set to watch him get killed. I was eating a candy bar at the time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that is just gold right there. Oh my God, I love it. So did you have another one, or that was the two? Okay. Oh no, of course. So I do want to ask if you have any memories of the premiere or opening weekend, or any stories there.
Yeah, it was very exciting. The premiere. I went to the premiere. It was sold out. It was in this fabulous theater in Westwood. Red carpet, the whole thing. And I had never not seen it with an audience. So when the music started and the curtain comes up in this old theater, the audience went insane. And I was stunned. It was so much fun to see it with the real audience because you have no idea. Yeah. And the only thing was they screamed through the whole thing. I mean, I was running and I hear guys screaming, "Get up, you bitch!" and stuff like that. That was great. But at the end, when it was Roy, the whole place, that's when I realized they didn't like it. I didn't know that there was a big deal about Jason. When it's the reveal, I heard people go, "Who the fuck is that?" Yeah, so that was interesting. So after all that, a week later, I went to Hollywood Boulevard to see it with real people, regular audience. I think it had been open a week or so. And I just went in as myself, and everyone's turning around and staring because I forgot that's me up there, But it was fun to see real people, not a premiere, and you got the real reaction, and I was sitting, there were people behind me, and there was a guy behind me going, "What a stupid bitch. Who does that? Just run." So that was a lot of fun.
That was me.
It's fun then. It's fun hearing the audience's reaction.
Oh yeah.
And then I got up and turned around. The guy went, "Oh shit, it's her. It's her."
Yeah, I would be flashing him a dirty look, like, "Oh, it's stupid."
I enjoyed it.
That's good. Bob, any stories you remember from premiere weekend or opening weekend?
I didn't go to the premiere, actually, but I did go to where it opened in my part of town. And I watched, actually, to be honest with you, I've only seen the movie twice. I saw the movie,
Seen it twice.
I saw the movie at the wrap party.
Yeah.
And then I went when it opened in my part of town. But that's about it. I don't have a lot of stories about the movie. I went in, shot, went home again, and then saw the movie at my local theater, So that's about it for me. I didn't go to the big premiere. Not for any special reason, but again, I was out of the business. So whether it was well received or not, and I hoped it would be, but it didn't.
You didn't care.
It didn't affect me much.
You didn't care like the rest of us. We're like, oh, God, please like me.
Please let us open and
I have questions for you. Did you guys see it right away? And were you bummed out about the Roy?
Okay,
You didn't care.
Bummed.
I was not, because I went to drinks to the end when it
Right.
presented itself.
Right.
Tommy possibly
Right.
taking on the mound or whatever.
Yeah.
That was intriguing to me.
Yeah. So I thought it was.
When that end happened up that way, that was like, whoa.
Hey, it's something different.
It's an interesting twist,
Yes.
Where it was the little girl, like,
Right. All of a sudden.
at the end has the knife and everything, and it's making you think the evil was transferred. So it would have been interesting if that would happen with John Schiller.
Yep. I think it's always interesting to try something different, but they went right back to the formula. And the rest. Were you bummed out? Oh, you shouldn't have been there. Yeah, it's all about. Really? That's interesting to me.
I was. Oh.
You didn't care? See?
I was 1 year old when the movie came out.
Oh, get away from me.
So I'm sorry. I look old enough to be your father's young friend, though. So I don't know how that. You guys have to share your secrets with me. But I always compare it to Jason Goes to Hell and to Halloween 3, which are, when you were trying to do something different here. We're trying to do something different. And in Halloween 3, it's just not really a Halloween movie at all. This is a Friday the 13th movie in every way for me. You know what I mean? And if you don't like the Roy thing, I feel like you can just look away from the screen for that 5-second period, and boom, you got a great Friday the 13th movie with a classic hockey mask guy killing
And it's
people.
still a killer, and
the
it
kills
still
are great.
kills.
It
Yeah.
still feels right to me, So I mean, I kind of get both sides, but yes, in the back.
Perfect age. Yes, March.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah. Interesting.
Well, what's funny to me is that, they immediately seem to pivot back to Jason, right?
Yeah.
Jason Lives is in the title of
Yep.
the next one. Jason. Jason takes Manhattan. Jason Lives. Jason X. Jason Goes to Hell, But if you look at Jason Goes to Hell, you barely really get anything that's Friday the 13th like in that particular one. He's literally body swapping. So it's like, this guy's Jason, this nurse is Jason, she's Jason, he's Jason now, this guy in the suit is Jason. And it's just, I don't know, it doesn't homogenize for me the way that this one does. It didn't feel like that was a Friday the 13th movie, and it technically wasn't because New Line didn't have the rights.
Nice.
But so technically it was a Jason movie, not a Friday the 13th movie, but this is to me, just a classic Friday the 13th.
And I was just glad that I got to be a Paramount one, because like you said, they did New Line, so I got squeaked in that I got to be a Paramount Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I think they're better. I think they
are.
look better.
Yeah.
They have a whole vibe about them.
New Line, and I don't know what any of the studio's real intentions were to honor these franchises, just to make money or not, but it seemed like New Line, at that point in time, they were trying for things that they maybe were never really going to try and do. Like they were acquiring Texas Chainsaw and they were acquiring Jason. It's like, oh, maybe you're going to be, you have all these horror things under one banner, and then they didn't really make that many great entries in those particular franchises, and they kind of waned and floundered out a little bit. And I think that's what happened in the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
Freddy kind of went away because they didn't really know what to do with it. Jason went away because they didn't really know what to do with it. Texas Chainsaw went away because they didn't really know what to do with it. And we were left holding the bag waiting for our favorite franchises, you know? But at any rate, enough of me on the high horse here. I do want to give the audience another chance to jump in, guys. It's a little quiet. Okay, one more from Brandon.
Melanie, were you involved, there's, I don't know if it's a rumor or for real, there's rumor out there that, like, Corey Feldman was going to be a bigger part of that specific
Yes,
movie.
yes.
Was there a script that you were part of, the Bill involved?
No.
They changed it to the one that...
No, but I did talk to him. He was supposed to be more involved, but he was doing... Yeah.
Goonies.
Yeah. He had a conflict. Yeah. So he even had trouble showing up for that one little scene. Yeah.
I didn't know there was a script, but I knew it was supposed to wrap around him before time.
It was, yeah. But he got Goonies, and that was that. So they had to rewrite that whole thing.
I
And
do
they were
love-
lucky to get him for just that one scene.
That's one of my favorite scenes in
It's the
Friday
best.
History too. It's great. It's just like,
It's the
again, one of
best.
those totally setting the mood,
Yep.
you know, just
Yep.
setting the vibe, setting the table. So I guess before we wrap it up, guys, and let you get back to your tables, I do have to ask though, even though you may not have followed the franchise long throughout the years, is there anything you would hope to see in a future Friday the 13th film?
I'd like to see them stay with the same kind of vibe. I don't know if that's possible. I don't think horror films have gotten better. I think that they're more graphic, which is not needed for my taste anyway. I think less graphic and more story, but you can still have your kills and stuff. So that would be my hope, that the new stuff, that's what they do. I mean, I can't watch Saw or any of that.
Oh, no,
it's
it's torture porn.
I
don't
don't
watch
get it. It is torture.
Yeah.
You know. And
There's a difference between, you know, making suspense, making someone
Suspense,
scared,
yeah.
and making someone disgusted and uncomfortable,
Yeah.
or
but
you
some
know.
people, there's an audience for that, which
Yeah, I
is
get
also
it.
scary. So,
Sure, yeah.
but don't you want to care about the character who's going to get killed? Otherwise, there's no connection. You go, oh wait, I just kill him off. You know.
I go along with Melanie. I would like, if they continue, to see the same feel and that same campiness that they have. You know, so many people were talking about maybe they should bring Friday the 13th back with super special effects. And I think that would ruin it.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do. I think it's good to stick with maybe the old style type of kills, not so fancy, not so computer generated, but do the best you can with the old style kill and keep the films campy. Keep a little bit of that comedy running through.
They were so much fun, you know.
Yeah.
It's fun
That's
to
what
watch
makes them
Jason
fun.
in the woods. It's fun to, you know, watch, you know, teenagers, you know, people get slaughtered, and you know, guys doing coke, and you know, Showtime. There's just so much about this franchise that is fun.
Right.
And they've kind of like, well, if it was more serious and morose and somber, like, no, just let us have fun with this, please. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I couldn't agree more. Right there with you guys. Thank you so much again for
Thank
taking the
you.
time. This
Thank
has been
you.
an
Great
absolute,
questions.
absolute
Great
joy talking to you
questions.
guys. Yes.
Thanks a lot.
This is Ray Santiago, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Please watch, like, and subscribe, or else we'll find you and you'll die.